Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Coach Mario, owner of Warriors Pride Boxing Academy in Miami, Florida, with another episode of Inside the Ropes. Inside the Ropes with Coach Mario. How you doing, guys and girls? Today we will be talking about certain things. Certain things. We're not gonna beat around the bush. It's going to be a short video. It's going to be a short program in which we will discuss is Edgar Berlanga, the future of Puerto Rican boxing. Is Edgar Berlanga the future champion of Puerto Rican boxing? Is he a person that can actually take the Puerto Rican boxing legacy that so many other champions like Miguel Cotto, Tito Trinidad, Wilfredo Gomez, Carlos Ortiz, and so many others have actually held the name of Puerto Rico in high places in the boxing world. As you all know, Puerto Rico has great fighters, historic fighters, legendary fighters. For such a small island, I believe we are 60-something champions of the world so far. Puerto Rico has been able to conquer multiple divisions, multiple championships, even in the heavyweight division. So, can Edgar Berlanga fill all the expectations and what knowledgeable boxing fans, and I'm gonna make a reference about knowledgeable boxing fans. There's a lot of casual fans who actually just watch certain fights, and I can tell you because I train people from all walks of life. Some people that have never worn gloves before, people that just want to learn how to box or get in shape, and some other people that actually want to become fighters, and they don't know the history of boxing. Most of these young people do not know the history of boxing. They're not passionate about it. They just they watch one fighter and believe he's the greatest of all time without knowing and learning the history of this great sport. So if you want to look at the history of the sport of boxing, specifically in Puerto Rico, for all of those who do not know, and are new fans to the sport, are fans that recently started watching the sport of boxing, or our younger generation, or those who actually love boxing and are knowledgeable about boxing but do not know the history of the sport of boxing, Puerto Rico is the pound for pound, number one country in the world as far as boxing champions. And let me repeat that. Pound for pound, number one country in the sport of boxing. And I'll tell you why before you guys start pulling your hairs and saying all kinds of things. Listen to what I'm going to say, and you can research it. And what I talk this is not my opinion, this is actual fact. Puerto Rico is a small island. It's 30 miles wide, 100 miles long. It's a very, very small island, people. And when I say pound for pound, it's more champions per square mile than any other country in the world. All right? Now, you have more champions in Mexico, you have more champions in the United States, you have more champions in some other places, but those are huge countries. Those are huge countries compared to Puerto Rico. So, again, in order for you to become a champion in Puerto Rico and to be idolized and revered as a Boricua champion, it's not easy. All right, it is not easy because it's a small island, because you're going to be competing against countries that are 100 times larger than the country of origin for Puerto Rican fighters. So that's one of the things that have Puerto Rican fighters. They are fighters who are born with what I mentioned before, the cría Boricua, all right? That means that gamemanship. You are born with that, just like Mexican fighters. They have that die on the shield type of mentality, all right? And in order for you to be heralded as a great Puerto Rican champion by the Puerto Rican people, and I'm talking about people from Puerto Rico, people that are born and raised in Puerto Rico, all right? It's not easy. We're very, very selective on who we herald as champions, and we're very critical. Just like Mexican fans are. We're very knowledgeable. Our parents have been watching boxing for decades. Our grandparents, I remember the first fight I went to see, a world championship fight, was 10 years old. I went to see Carlos Ortiz fight Sugar Ramos at the Dan Bithorn Stadium in Puerto Rico. So we know boxing. We know the history of boxing. Not only do we know this last decade or the last 30 years or last 50 years, we study the sport of boxing. We know about those legendary fighters from all over the world. So when one of our fighters is promoted and is marketed by the powers that be, the TV networks, the commentators who have interest in promoting a fighter because they work for a specific TV network, and they call somebody the next great Puerto Rican star, we're skeptical. We want it to be, but there are so high standards to meet, so big shoes to fill when you talk about meeting the standards of great Puerto Rican fighters like Miguel Cotto and Tito Trinidad, Wilfredo Gomez, Carlos Ortiz, and all these other great fighters, Amanda Serrano. It's not easy. So we take it one fight at a time. So let's talk about Edgar Berlanga. Does he meet the qualifications? Does he meet the expectations? Does he meet the hope of Puerto Ricans who only have one champion nowadays? Who only have one champion in the lower weight classes presently? Edgar Berlanga. Edgar Berlanga has started his career knocking out the first, I believe, 16, 17 opponents. And the last 4 fights have gone the distance. What happened? What transpired? What do you guys think is the reason why he knocked everybody out in the first round, and then in the last 4 fights, he hasn't been able to do so? Actually, to the point of being frustrated and biting his opponent in his last fight, Angulo, and being suspended for 6 months by the New York Athletic Commission. So, my opinion, and guys, remember something, this is my opinion, all right? I talk about certain facts, but I also talk about opinions, and opinions based on experience, opinion based on decades of experience. I'm a boxing coach. I own a boxing academy. I've been involved in boxing since I was a young kid. So I know a little bit of what I'm talking about, and I might be wrong sometimes, but I rely on my experience to make these opinions, which might not be not come to fruition, and that's okay. Nobody's perfect. We all have our own different ways of judging. I believe I'm a very good judge of character, and I can actually see who, and I've been very, very, how can I say, accurate in predicting who's going to be a good fighter or who's not, because that's what I do at my gym. You know, I can tell who's the kid that has the skills, that has the ability, that has the drive to become good. And I also have the ability of knowing who's not gonna make it, no matter how much they train. And that's just skills, guys. You know, not everybody has the skills of a Terrence Crawford, natural born skills of a Tank Davis. You know, some other great fighters, legendary fighters like Sugar Ray Leonard and others. You know, Wilfredo Gomez, Carlos Ortiz. So when I look at Edgar Berlanga and I saw his first fights, everybody was going nuts with his performances and were saying this is the next great Puerto Rican star, and he's gonna be this, and he's gonna be ready for Canelo in a couple of years. And I said, well, guys, hold on, let's see what happens. I mean, I hope so. I really do hope so. I want some great fighters to come out of the island of Puerto Rico. But I had my reservations. I said, well, let's see what happens when a fighter goes more than one round, 2-3 rounds or more. And in this last fight, like I had predicted in the past, or like I had mentioned to some fans of the sport of boxing, those fights have not turned out positive for Berlanga. And a lot of holes in his game has shown. A lot of holes. All right? So, what happened? What happened since his last knockout? And I want you to excuse me, dogs are going nuts here. I'm in my house right now. Came back from running errands, and now I'm back in my house doing this program. So that's Sandy. She's always barking. It's one of my pit bulls. All right, so his last knockout was against Ulises Sierra, who had a record of 15-1, and that was at the bubble at MGM Grand. All right. At the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. All right, that was his last knockout. We're talking about December 12th, 2020. So in approximately a year and a half, a little bit more over a year and a half, Berlanga has not knocked anybody out. He fought Demond Nicholson for a unanimous decision win. He fought Marcelo Esteban Cáceres for a unanimous decision win. He fought Steve Rolls, an aging fighter, for a unanimous decision win. And then his last fight, he fought Romer Alexis Angulo on June 16th for a unanimous decision fight, in which there was controversy and where Berlanga seemed frustrated by Angulo, was not able to knock him out, and decided to bite him. All right? So a lot of holes in his game, technical holes, defensive holes, the ability to not, or the disability to not adjust properly to his adversary, and to have in his mind the idea of knocking out his opponent always. And like a lot of people that follow boxing, a lot of trainers, and a lot of people that box know, el knockout viene. El knockout llega solo. That means knockout comes on its own. You don't look for a knockout. You build on opportunities. You use your jab, you use your technical experience. You adjust to your fighter. You weaken your fighter. So the knockout should not be the goal. The goal should be winning and interpreting and adjusting to your opponent, making the necessary adjustment for you to win. So, bottom line, Edgar Berlanga has not shown, in my opinion, the abilities to adjust, the technical know-how, and there's something called the eye test. In my opinion, he does not pass the eye test. He does not meet the requirements, or does not meet the perception, if you want to call it that way, my perception of someone who's going to be a great fighter, regardless where he's from, whether he's from Puerto Rico, Mexico, United States, wherever he's from. I can tell when a fighter does not have what it takes to become a true legendary fighter. And we're not talking about title holder, because, you know, there's so many titles nowadays. It's easier to become a title holder. Not that, and I don't consider them a real champions. A title holder is a lot easier than 40 years ago, all right? Which was a lot harder for you to become a champion. Now, somebody that has 2 fights can become a title holder. Somebody that has 5 fights can become a title holder. They are not, in my opinion, champions. Those guys are not champions, all right? There are exceptions, like Lomachenko. That guy is a true champion, or was a true champion. There's no denying in that. But they're far less in between. Those type of fighters, those are once in a generation type of fighters that come along, that are so skilled, and like I was saying, have the ability, have been boxing at high level, have the pedigree, the Olympic pedigree, have the experience to be able to adjust to the professional style of boxing and become champions, right? So again, in a few words, make the long story short, Edgar Berlanga, in my opinion, does not have the requirements, the skills, the know-how, or the abilities to become that great Puerto Rican star. All right? I have other opinions about other fighters that are up and coming, and I know those fighters actually have better opportunity to becoming great fighters, great champions. There's Subriel Matias, there is Sander Sayas, and we already have one, Amanda Serrano, who is a legendary champion in my opinion already. Okay, so again, Edgar Berlanga, in my opinion, and I know some of you might disagree with me, some of you might agree with me, does not pass the eye test, does not pass that threshold, that measuring stick, if you want to say it that way, to compare him, or to actually say that he is somebody that is going to become a great Puerto Rican champion, or get a great Puerto Rican legend. And I know he's young, but there's so many things that people at his age have accomplished, other fighters have accomplished at that age. He's 25 years old. And there's legends like Salvador Sanchez, like Wilfred Benitez, and so many other champions. I can mention at least 20 who have become legendary before 25 years old. All right? And you don't become legendary by fighting once a year. So anyway, guys, that's my opinion. Let me know what you believe. Put your comments below. I will try to answer each and every one of your comments. But like I said before, Edgar Berlanga, in my opinion, is not going to cut it. I mean, he might become successful winning some kind of title. I really doubt it. I really, really doubt it. But you never know. He might prove everybody wrong. He might prove me wrong. And those Puerto Rican fans who know the sport will also share my opinion. And I can tell you a lot of pros that I know that share my same opinion. They just don't want to be honest about it and want to be more diplomatic about sharing their opinion. But anyway, guys, like and subscribe. If you like all the content that I have on my program, please share it with your friends. Make sure you make comments, all right? If you want to follow me on Instagram, my Instagram name is Coach Mario 57, Coach Mario 57 at Instagram. If you want to follow me on Facebook, it's gonna be Warriors Pride Boxing Academy. And if you're ever down here in Miami, feel free to come and visit, say hi. We'll talk a little bit of boxing, and maybe you can take a few lessons here, or you can train at our gym, our facility. All right, we won 8 consecutive Miami Best Boxing Instruction Awards. We're very proud of that fact. And well, that's it. Thank you again for listening in and subscribing and following us on YouTube. Until next time, this is Coach Mario from Inside the Ropes saying hasta luego and God bless.